The Supreme Court found itself in the middle of a presidential politic situation today, ruling Colorado could not on its own decide to declare Donald Trump ineligible to run for president. It's an historic ruling, one that will affect every like-minded state now and in the future, too.
North Central College professor Stephen Caliendo joining us now to break it all down for us. Thanks for joining us once again. So this ruling was handed down as an unsigned opinion. What exactly does that mean? And I have a twofold question here. How significant is this that they did this on the eve of Super Tuesday?
Yeah, the timing, Sylvia, it's a good question. I think they should have acted sooner, quite frankly. I mean, we know the ballots had already been printed, et cetera. There is some symbolism there, but I don't think that was intentional. I think the court was trying to get it right. The fact that it was unsigned suggests it was probably authored by the Chief Justice. And the most important part of this is what makes me happiest about this ruling, and that is that it's unanimous. There clearly was a divergence of some opinions about the scope of the ruling, but in terms of the decision, and Terrence said it perfectly, that Colorado on its own cannot disqualify Donald Trump from running for president or being on the ballot in any one state. They got it right.
Let's delve deeper into the court's opinion, saying, quote, it shuts the door on other potential means of federal enforcement by requiring Congress to act to pass legislation on the insurrectionist ban. So do we really expect Congress will take this issue up? Because there's others they still can't be like-minded on. What happens next, do you think?
They can't even pass a funding bill.
Exactly.
There's no way this isn't going to be in the top tier of things that I expect Congress to take up. You know, some of the justices left open in their writing that maybe federal courts could make this decision, but that it was clear that it wasn't, quote unquote, self-executing. That is, just because it might be apparent to people that Donald Trump participated in an insurrection. And I'm not suggesting that that necessarily is true. Lots of people don't believe that. But even if he were tried and convicted of insurrection, what the court's saying here is that individual states, even then, couldn't prohibit him from being on the ballot. It's got to come at the federal level. And again, as you said, Congress is supposed to take this up. Now, whether they do it or not is another question. But if they don't do it, that essentially means that the 14th Amendment article, or Clause 3, Section 3 rather, is moot. Because if that's the ruling that Congress has to act and they don't do it, then nobody can be prohibited from serving as a result of participating in an insurrection.
Okay, so the Supreme Court isn't done with this yet. They still have to decide another Trump case, and that's determining immunity from the charges he tried to overturn the 2020 election. So his trial on that was supposed to begin next week. I think it was on Monday, but it had to be postponed because of this challenge. So how crucial is it that the court make a decision on this one before the November election? And you think that's going to happen?
Oh, the decision ought to come. I don't expect the decision will be later than that, but I think they set oral arguments for the end of April at this point, which means that we'd be lucky. I mean, we'll assume that the earliest we'll get a ruling is the end of June, which is the end of the court's term. They could push it off and not tell us a decision until they come back in October. I don't think that will happen. But nonetheless, even if they decide at the end of June, it's going to be a very tough to get a criminal trial finished before the November elections. And so I'm disappointed that the court wasn't moving more quickly on this, because this is really wide-ranging. It's several of the cases that former President Trump is involved in rest on this notion that he should be immune from prosecution, even if he committed these acts while he was president. So that's the one we're really going to need to wait for.
Professor Stephen Caliendo, class is dismissed. Thanks so much. I always appreciate your expertise.
Class is dismissed temporarily, Terrence.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.